Christian Kirksey has been a pretty good player for the Cleveland Browns for his time in the NFL. In his first 4 seasons, he actually did a pretty good job of staying on the field. He had over 4,000 snaps in those first 4 seasons, which is pretty good, pretty solid there. But the last 2 years, he really struggled just to stay on the field. I mean, he got hurt multiple times in 2018 and only played under 500 snaps, and he only played in 7 games as a whole. And then in 2019, it went even further down. He got injured in the second game of the season. He only played 120 snaps, and he was out for the rest of the season. So really, I mean, he's a good player, but the past couple of years, he just hasn't been able to stay on the field, and I think there is some concern about just how good can he still be? Has maybe he lost it? And is there going to be some injury problems? Is he one of those guys that can't stay healthy? Because that is a thing that happens. Green Bay certainly didn't think so, though. They decided they're going to pay him. They went out and they got him not a crazy deal. They're not breaking the bank with him. But for Green Bay, they said he is worth taking a chance on. And they got a pretty good deal. I mean, it's a 2-year, $13 million deal. But there's a potential out for just $2 million in dead cap after the first season. So if he turns out that the injuries derailed his career, then they're fine. They can just decide, okay, cool, we'll just cut you, eat a couple of $1 million, which in the NFL isn't much. It's a risk worth taking, in my opinion. We'll start things off with this play. What's going to happen is that's going to be the blocking concept in the middle of the field with the center, right guard, and right tackle all doing that. Notably, the right guard will get off a double team to move up to block Kirksey, whereas then what they're going to do is just run a handoff right over there, see if they can get something going from that perspective. One thing you'll notice right when the ball is snapped is that the guard isn't doing a great job of being able to get out. Actually, Cleveland's interior lineman did a pretty good job of sort of tying him up on this play, which means that now at this point for Kirksey, he has a window where he can try to run through. Now, typically, if you're a halfback, you just take the handoff and then you just take the ball and find another hole to run through. Makes a ton of sense, but there really isn't that much else to go. I mean, you look right over there, the left guard is doing a pretty good job of trying to get over and make that block, but it's going to be tough. You don't know if it's going to work out or not, and so that's really where he wants to go, but this is far from a perfect hole to run through regardless. However, that's not really so important. What's important here is going to be Kirksey, and watch how Kirksey, he sees what happens. He sees that guard has been tied up, and he potentially has a hole to run through, and watch how quickly he gets through that hole and is able to make that tackle. Just a really good athletic play, He's kind of like a lion in that sense, or he just pounces, without a moment's warning, and he's able to make that tackle, and that's what he can do. He's definitely very good in the running game. This will be a good example of it, where what's going to happen is that's where Kirksey is, and for Baltimore, they're going to have some creative blocks here, That's what they've liked to do these past couple of years, even with Joe Flacco in the game. That's what they're doing here, where those are going to be the 3 blocks you're going to want to take a look at, which means that Kirksey, on paper, it looks like he's not getting blocked, but he actually is. Now, there's going to be one block that is important, where it's going to be the left tackle is going to run up to block that linebacker right there, try to get him closer to the middle. That's an important block, and you're going to see why in a second. But also what's worth noting is that the left guard is going to move over to try and block Kirksey. And now you probably understand a little bit more why it's the tackle moving over to make that block, because, kind of a tough block. But if it works, now you can have the guard get all the way over and block Kirksey. But what I want you to do is I want you to watch that first Baltimore player. I believe I called him a left tackle. Actually, looks like he's a tight end who's just lined up as a left tackle. Pretty interesting. But anyways, what's going to happen is that right after the ball is snapped, doesn't do a great job of making this block, and because of this, it now means that for that guard, he has a couple of options on this play, He could decide that he's going to try to just, revert course and go back and try to make a play, but at the same time, there's also the dilemma of Kirksey is out there and can potentially run over and try to make a play himself. However, for that Baltimore guard, it's just a distance thing. It's who's closer to the halfback. That's who I'm going to block. Let's not allow tackle to happen for a loss here. So I'll, change course. It's a desperation situation. I'll block the linebacker that my left guard / tight end was not able to block. But look at what Kirksey's able to do since he's unblocked. He runs in so quickly. He's able to make a tackle just as quickly as anybody else would, and quite frankly, it was just as big of a loss as it would have been had the guard ran over to block Kirksey. Just a really good play, and he can make those good, quick plays from time to time. I do think that having him on your team can really help in the running game, which, I think helps. I mean, you just look at their division and going up against a team like Minnesota that runs the ball very well. I think that having a guy like Kirksey, who doesn't get fooled too often, could be a big advantage. Like, take a look at this play. It's going to be a lot of blocks to the right side of the screen, but that's just to try to get players to move over in that direction, because then what Baltimore is going to do is they're going to pull their left guard along with a halfback over to the left side of the screen. Basically, the idea is that Baltimore players think it's going to be a run to the right because they see the offensive line. They run over in that direction, get out of position, and then you have room to run. But I want you to take a look at Kirksey here and watch how quickly he realizes what he's supposed to do immediately. And granted, this isn't as good as it might seem, because I'm not saying that he just read the play that quickly. He knows that his job is on a play like this, still make sure he gets over to that left side of the screen where he got to cover up that gap. That's just his job on that play regardless. But a lot of guys, it's too tempting sometimes when they see it looks like it's going to be a run to the right, they run over to the right. But he knew his assignment, knew where he was supposed to be, and did a good job of getting there quickly. He hustled on that play, even though more often than not on a play like that, it's not really going to matter if he gets over there, because it won't be a run in that direction. But, he played it out for the one time that does happen. He could be prepared to make a play, and that's something that you definitely want to see. I also like this play where this is going to be where it's a passing play, but it's a screen pass, where what's going to happen is that's where he is on the screen, and what's going to happen for New York is they're going to have a tight end basically just try to run into Kirksey, try to push him away, because then they're going to have a halfback run in that direction. It's a pick play, essentially. You're going to try to see if you can get something to work. It's kind of a mixture between a screen pass and a pick play type thing. But anyways, after the ball is snapped, you notice that for New York, it's a tough situation right here for this offensive player, because if he decides to run into Kirksey, well, then it's a penalty. You can't block this far down the field before the pass has been thrown. It's illegal. So Kirksey knows this, and he knows that what he has to do is try to get around as quickly as possible. Get around that tight end ASAP, because, once the ball is thrown and once the halfback has the ball, well, then you can block, and at that point, it's a lot easier to keep somebody out of the way than it is when you can't make contact, obviously. So Kirksey makes this read very quickly, runs over, makes a play. He's got that high football IQ, also a very intelligent player. So I think that this is definitely, I think it's a good signing for the Packers. I mean, yes, he's gotten hurt 2 straight seasons, but it's not like he's somebody who has gotten hurt every year he's been in the league. He had 4 straight seasons of playing basically every game up until the injury. He's only 28 years old, and, he's a pretty decent player. I think that there definitely is. It's another one of those sort of, it's a lower risk, high reward type play. This is a bigger risk than some of these bad teams making a move like this, because, when a bad team makes a signing where either it's going to flame out or play pretty well, and it's a 1-year deal, or at least a deal where you have an out after 1 year, well, that's just a good move, because you're not really concerned about trying to win a Super Bowl that year anyways. The Packers, I mean, they were a win away from the Super Bowl last year, so without a doubt, they're trying to win now. So this is a move that they're hoping will allow them to make their chances as big as possible to be good tomorrow. It's absolutely a risk. If he gets hurt, that's obviously a bad contract. But if he stays on the field, then that's a great contract. So it's a risk. But at the same time, sometimes in football, you have to make a risk. That's what Green Bay is doing. So I like the move. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.